Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Illustration Masterclass. This is a tutorial series where I look at some of my favorite artists and break down the creative decisions it is that they're making in order to create the stunning artwork it is that they are able to make. And so each week I feature a different artist and I just show you some of the design decisions and some of the design principles it is that I've learned in my experience as an illustrator and as a comic artist. And I just share them here on my channel. So if you're new to the channel, uh, please feel free to check out the other stuff I have on here. I have podcasts interviewing with other artists, as well as a whole bunch of these masterclass videos. So today we're looking at the artist BROM. And BROM is known for his dark fantasy art. I think he's written a book or two as well. And he's just overall really prolific and one of my favorite painters that I can think of. To me, he's right up there with Frazetta. And so let's go ahead and let's jump into this and let's see what we can learn from some of his work. So the first thing it is that I notice when I look at this piece is I like to zoom out. And maybe not that much, but even if we zoom out this much, we can see that there is a cross here and that the cross is very heavy in the top third of the image. The reason for that is that the cross has it's very strong. It's a very strong symbol, and the way that he's drawn it is almost like an H.R. Geiger uh, type cross. It's got this kind of biomechanical kind of vibe to it that I really dig about his work. But the design decision to put this as a cross is an interesting one because it symbolizes power, but it also symbolizes a lot of other things it is that we might consider to be grotesque, things along those lines. Now he bases the whole illustration around this one central symbol, which is very symmetrical, right? The cross itself is very symmetrical, and the painting itself is very symmetrical. And this is something it is that he plays with in this piece, is that he has this very symmetrical base of an image, and then he adds in elements throughout the piece that give it an asymmetrical element to the actual painting, which adds a level of interest. Because one of the issues that you can have if you do something that is dead center in the painting and is completely symmetrical on both sides, it can tend to look kind of boring. So let's take a look and see in the way he adds variety to this illustration. Now, if we look at the unity, we can see quite a lot of unity. We can see quite a lot of symmetry, right? We have these gates over here, these sewer gates that are the same. We even see the arm positions are the same, right? These are all essentially the same. It's only whenever we look closer that we start to notice the difference. And we can see over here that he has these two lines coming in here with one line coming over here. We see this biomechanical kind of vent looking thing, this pipe coming in here, which is an interesting element. As we zoom in more, we start to see more and more detail that's different, right? We see that over here there's something hanging down from her hair. On this side there is a circle. There's a lot of circles. This is another element that he incorporates into it. So typically with an illustration, illustrators like to organize the whole painting around very simple shapes and then branch out from there. So he's using the cross shape, but then he's using the circle as a way, the circle shape as a way to balance and create a contrast with this cross-like shape. So he has this circle shape up here, which I would say there's an asymmetrical element with the face here. He adds this sort of asymmetrical element going here, right? And then we just see repeating shapes throughout the whole image of circles. Everywhere it is that you look, there's circles. Circle, circle, pretty much everywhere in this piece. As soon as my computer stops. Okay. Circle, circle, circle. There's a big circle on this side of her head and then a small one on the other side of her head. We see there's a circle shape that's behind her. Why is my computer saving so much? I don't understand. Anyway, there's a circle shape in her hand here. This triangle shape is very reminiscent of the rest of the image as well, because the image itself, if we pull back more, hopefully okay. Sometimes my computer likes to freak out, but we can see a triangle forming here on the bottom, or we could even say that the triangle extends upwards like this, right? So there's lots of different design decisions that he's making there that I think give a very graphic quality to it. But let's go ahead and let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next piece. All right, now this one is really interesting because again we have an image that, well, is he sitting dead center in the painting? No, not exactly. He's not sitting completely in the center of the illustration, but he's pretty close. And that's something that you can play around with. You don't want things to sit perfectly dead in the center because, like I said, they can look very boring. But if you put them a little bit off of center to the right or to the left, it creates a sort of a tension in the actual piece that grabs people's attention. So there's a lot of different elements going on in this piece. He likes to use converging lines in order to direct your eye. So he has a line that's coming through here, a line that's coming through here, and a line that's coming up through here. And you can see how it is that this is also a converging line, this sword. And where is this converging line taking us? It's taking us to this head that we're seeing here, which is pretty grotesque. And we could say that this head is leading us back down here, and this is taking us back up, right? There's a lot of leading lines throughout the piece. And there's other things it is that he's doing with the value structure, which I think is really important, right? Because he has all these intersecting lines and these intersecting patterns here in order to draw your attention to where they are intersecting. What is it that is in front of them that these lines are intersecting with? He does a really good job. If I drop this down into a grayscale, we can see that he does a really good job of grouping his shadow shapes together. And the really good painters, you'll notice that they're very, very good at doing things like this, right? They can organize everything into specific value groups. So he's dropped these down into a darker value group. He's dropped everything that is really not the focal point over here and down here and up here. He's dropped all of those into much darker values. And then for the focal point, the point he wants you to look at, he does what? He puts a spotlight on it. It says, boom, I want you to look right here. And so he's got this character here, and of course the character himself falls into darker value. And he has the largest variety of values in the actual painting itself, right? He has the most amount of detail because he is the focal point. Everything else around him kind of falls out of detail outside of this head over here, which is also a part of the focal point, because the focal point is you basically going back and forth between these two different elements. All right, so I got one more for you, and then I'll let you guys go. All right, this is a pretty awesome piece. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop it into grayscale, and we're going to pull this back just a little bit. And there's a few interesting things that are going on in this piece. For one, there is another element of symmetry, and you can see how he plays around with symmetrical elements and then non-symmetrical elements, asymmetrical elements. He likes to incorporate symmetrical elements in certain parts of the image, and then he likes to throw that balance off by adding in different contrasting parts, right? So we could almost imagine that this door here is almost like wings, right? And if she was positioned just a little bit more over here to the right, uh, it would be unmistakable that these would be like wings that are coming off of her back, right? But he plays with that, and instead he puts her a little bit to the left, again, not dead center. She's not facing us completely, but that idea is still readable in the actual image itself. Um, so we have that, and then we have this very symmetrical shape back here, and then we have this asymmetrical. Well, we also have this symmetrical element here of the walls, right, on both sides of her. But then we have all these asymmetrical elements that are incorporated. We have the background back here, the cityscape that's just kind of implied in a dark value. We've got these elements coming in, and they're essentially pointing us to our protagonist, to the person it is that we're trying to look at here. And then again, we have these repeating shapes. We have these circle shapes that are being repeated throughout the whole thing, right? In her staff, and in her necklace, and the tattoo on her arm. So we'll scroll in just a little bit. And what do we see? We see an eye here, which is great. I love this design. I just think this is so cool. We've got this eye here. We've got that. We've got these circle shapes. And we can also see that the shoulders are tilted as well to one side, which helps. Now, if we pull back just a little bit, and we look at these two figures, we also see some interesting decisions that he's making, right? These characters are falling into the dark. She's in the light, and of course, much like the last one, the dress it is that she's wearing is very dark, and she's on this white background. And so there's this nice pattern of black, white, black, white, black, white, right? So there's this nice little pattern going on here. These characters don't have that pattern, which is my point. But what their arms do is their arms create a converging line that take us right back to where it is that he wants us to look. And everything is pointing. Where is it pointing? It's pointing in our focal point, where he wants us to look. So there's no escaping where he wants you to look in this image. This hand is pointing up. This hand is pointing up. They're both of their faces are pointing towards her. But even this guy's arm that's thrown back, this is creating a converging line that is connecting to this darker shape of this figure, and is going up, and it's pointing back at her. So yeah, doing things like this and breaking them down is a really interesting way to understand how to grow as an artist, how to make the right decisions as an artist. So if you like this video, please drop a comment. Let me know if there's any other artists you'd like for me to look at. If you're interested in getting more tutorials, you can check them out here on YouTube. Or if you'd like to get some of these videos earlier, you can check them out on my Patreon. And that link will be in the description box below. And it's free to join. You can come and just join and get some free tutorials and other stuff like my comic updates and whatnot earlier than people that just follow me on social media. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate you checking out my video, and take care. Thank you.